You're listening to the World Football Program with all the latest updates from both local and international football.
Welcome to the World Football Program, another Saturday morning from 10 to 12 on Radio Fremantle 107.9 FM. We've got a full studio today, myself, Penny Tanner-Hoth, Pete Skeeler. Morning, Pete.
Morning. How you going?
Am I getting the pronunciation?
You're getting it right, yeah?
Excellent.
This time?
Yeah.
Just got to work on the spelling now.
Yeah, no, I can't blame Sean for that. I've got the spelling right. And we've got Forestfield head coach Rod Banjak in the studio too. Good morning, Rod.
Morning, Pen, Peter. Viewers.
Rod, you can grab a hold of that microphone and bend it towards you, so it's a bit easier.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good. Excellent. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. You can catch us on our Facebook page if you want to land any questions for our guest. Just go to the World Football Program Group Facebook page. You can also text us 0408 921 832, 0408 921 832. We are streaming live on radiofremantle.com's website. And if you're mobile, on the MyTuner Radio app is a pretty cool app to put on your mobile and put it in your back pocket as you're hooning around wherever you may be, going for a jog or whatever. I'm not sure there's any other football this weekend besides the A-League and the Football Awards, so it's a quiet weekend locally.
I was going through the fixtures because normally I've got a big list of stuff to go through. There's not that much.
Yeah, it changes in the off-season. I'm not sure we call it off-season, but we will today because there's just, not so much local stuff. There's not so much other stuff to talk about. We've got a full lineup of guests, including Ralph Barber from Football Nation Radio. You might know Ralph from the Four Diegos Media, otherwise Carlos Albertos, one of the Four Diegos. Brandon Wilson from Perth Glory will be joining us. We're going to have a chat to Lisa Beattie and Rod Banjak about their promotion into the top tier of their respective football leagues in women's and men's football here locally. And Daniel Capillaro, otherwise known as D10, he's an Australian futsal player, but has been away at the Mini Football World Cup in Tunisia. And the Australian team that he was in actually got through to the quarterfinals. And if you'd been following any of the media attention to that, YouTube, Facebook pages or whatever, some of the quality of the teams was absolutely fantastic. Czech Republic won, and they were just a machine. Every one of their players could shoot from anywhere. The ball control was fantastic. Fantastic to watch. I followed most of their games on YouTube, and they were at kind of crazy times, early in the morning, like 1:45 and stuff like that. So I fell asleep through some of them, but YouTube was pretty great. So the boys from the Mini Football Federation did a great job there of covering it, and we'll have a chat to Daniel later in the program. Thank you very much to everybody that supports us. We do appreciate it, being a community football program. If you ever want to donate, simply ring the station during the week on 949 42100. We give great thanks to Prosperity Strata Management, to Louis Prospero, Gaten Fence Hardware WA, Oswest Fencing and Wrought Iron, Data Plats, Perth Glory, Rachel Pepper Illustrations, the Australian Mini Football Federation, Melville City Football Club. And also thanks to all the media outlets that let us run audio throughout the program and throughout the year, like Fox Sports, ABC, SBS, Women's Game, Football Federation Australia. And there's lots more, especially that we get off YouTube. I'm not quite sure who you thank for YouTube, but thanks, YouTube.
YouTube.
We've got a great interview with Sam Kerr. Sam's really hard to get a hold of. I've tried to get a hold of her and Alan Stajic for the past nth number of weeks, months and throughout the year, but they're always off touring here and there, and I'm sure with Sam's accolades, and especially the one she received last night for MVP for the National Women's Soccer League in America, which has expanded her portfolio even more. I'm sure she's going to be pretty hard to get a hold of before game day, when you actually get to see her on the pitch. So that's everything that's happening for the show today. Welcome, everyone. Please do land any questions on the Facebook page. We have some tickets to give away to the first W League fixture, which is happening against Melbourne City FC, which is the previous season's champions at NRB Stadium. 27th, that's Friday. Next Friday
night.
7 o'clock kickoff. So we've got a couple of tickets to give away to that. I might as well land the question now, because you'll have to do a bit of homework for this one. Tell us how many homegrown players are in the W League Glory squad this year. Land it onto the Facebook page. That's the World Football Program Facebook page. And our man, who's our statistician, Pete, from aleaguestats.com, he's going to monitor that for us, and we'll tell you the answer at the end of the program, or afterwards. We'll land it on the page. How many homegrown players, that's how many West Australian players are in the Perth Glory W League squad. So get cracking on wherever sources you can get that from, and land the answer there. And we've got 2 double passes to give away, so they're adult passes. There'll be one for one winner and one for another winner, so we can have 2 winners for that.
Excellent.
So have a couple of cracks at it if you like. It's a bit of a curly one. Guys, there's a little bit of a breathing space now. Not only have I stopped talking, what's happening, Rod, with Forest? What are they doing in the off-season? What are you doing on your weekends now?
Believe it or not, this is where we do the hard work.
Yeah, preparation for the following season.
There is a lot happening at Forestville at the moment. Obviously, we're upgrading the pitches now to look even better, especially the main pitch.
How do you upgrade grass pitches?
We are putting a lot of work in there. They are completely the main pitch is completely stripped and redone, because we want that pitch to be the best in the state.
Yeah.
That's the challenge for us, and
going to get some work in the next season.
I'm pretty sure it will be. The style of football that we've adopted and that we play, we need a good surface. Yep. And so that's where we begin. Obviously, we've got a off-season tournament with 52 teams in the six-a-side that's taking place at the moment. And I went there on Thursday night, and it was absolutely packed out. The atmosphere was great. Did a little bit of scouting. There's quite a few interesting faces around the place.
Bit of income for the club moving into NPL era?
Well, look, let's not kid ourselves. Everything that we do revolves around the dollar. Community club is no different. I always keep saying we are semi-professional at the NPL level, and these young blokes put their life on the line. They don't put their life on the line, but they put their well-being on the line, and they need to be rewarded accordingly. You know, a bit of pocket money doesn't go astray. So we do need to be aware of that. So at this present time, we're working, Andy Osborne and his team are working in an overdrive to make sure that we've got the right sponsors on board, and that we are aligned with the right sponsors as well. Not just because we don't want people donating the money. We want them to have a genuine interest in the club and maybe get something out of it. Yeah. So we are engaging the local business community behind the club.
Yeah, Andy does a lot of work on social mediums, different Facebook pages and whatever, gets the Forestville presence out there. So, I mean, as a president, he's very, very active in getting the profile of the club where it should be.
Well, if you can imagine how passionate I am about football, Andy's very much passionate about behind the scenes, and he puts in a lot of effort.
I wonder if he actually gets any sleep, Rod. I know he works in a restaurant, so when we speak to him on Saturday morning, sometimes he's only just come off a late night shift, and he's had these 600 coffees to keep him going for the interview. And then I see him putting stuff up on the net, and I'm thinking he spends some pretty late nights doing a lot of football things.
I don't want to reveal too much, but I think you hit the nail on the head. Obviously, he owns the Darlington estate and the winery and the function centre. So most of their work goes up to about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then he'll relax with a couple of glasses of wine, and that's when he does most of his work. So don't call him before 9, 10 o'clock.
No, God, they look...
You won't get him at his best.
We're going to go to a break. We'll talk more football after we come back with Ralph Barber, but just a couple of reminders. The Football West Awards Day is on tomorrow, and if you land on the footballwest.com.au website, you can find out about that. So all of the awards that weren't presented at the gold medal dinner, so to speak, a couple of weekends ago, will be presented like Metro Leagues, Masters Leagues, Reserves Leagues, all those kind of things. So I think that kicks off from about 11 o'clock and goes through to about 2:30 or so. It's very social, it's family friendly, it's even dog friendly. There's been dogs on leads there. I'm not sure if they can get to the urban orchard in Perth with dogs this time, but family friendly. It's called the Orchard because they actually do have herbs and trees, and my daughter loves climbing on the mulberry tree that's right at the entrance there. Family friendly because it's right in the cultural centre, the library and the arts centre, etc. So that's tomorrow, and that'll be the wrap for the football awards for the year, I reckon. Gloria playing on Sunday, 4 o'clock kick-off at NIB against Central Coast. And there's a state coaching conference coming up, but the registrations on that have closed. That's the 28th and 29th of October. That's an annual event. So there's some of the things that are happening around the traps. We'll go to a break and come back very soon on the World Football Programme. You know what? The computer's got an absolute problem, and it's telling me that it's got a problem, and it does not want to play anything at all, Ted. I'm going to be ringing Ted soon. Okay, Pete, how about you go through the A-League fixtures for me while I
can go through that.
There you go.
Okay, so in the round just finished, so the second round of the A-League, we had Brisbane Roar at home against Adelaide United. Adelaide United won that one 2-1 with 2 goals very late in the game, so it was nice to see a bit of a comeback there in a match that I'm indifferent to overall. After that, we had Central Coast Mariners travel to Western Sydney. They played out a 2-2 draw. Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory played out the Derby, as you'd say if you were from Victoria. That one went a 2-1 win to City, which I'm sure everyone watched on Channel 10, and I was certainly impressed with the quality of the broadcast. Mm-hmm. Newcastle Jets and Perth Glory 2-2, another last minute goal, this time for the good guys, so happy to see that. Sydney FC and Wellington Phoenix played out a 3-2 result in favour of Sydney FC. And then last night, Adelaide United hosted Melbourne Victory, and we had a bumper crowd there. It was 19,000. Witnessed a 2-2 draw between Adelaide and Melbourne. Coming up today, we've got Melbourne City at home to Wellington Phoenix. And then on TV tonight, we've got the Sydney Derby between Sydney FC and Western Sydney Wanderers. Tomorrow, it's Brisbane Roar at home against Newcastle Jets. And then Perth Glory finally get a home game. We're hosting Central Coast Mariners, and we get to see Danny De Silva come back to Perth.
We do. Looking forward to that game. Looking forward to the first home game. Yeah. And you can catch that on, is it 6PR? 6PR radio. And
you can catch it at the ground.
Yeah, you can if you're not there, I'm talking about. And
otherwise it's on Foxtel.
Yeah, it is.
It may be on 6PR, I don't know. I know in the past they've promoted them, previous seasons they've promoted themselves as broadcasting the A-League, and then the times I've tried to tune in, I've caught cricket instead. So.
Yeah, no, FFA have got this thing happening at the moment where they log into all the states, or one radio station in each state to pick up all the games, and I think that's
like a local.
Yeah, I think it's 6PR. I always get 6NR and 6PR mixed up. Sorry.
I'm sure I've caught A-League on 720 as well, the ABC Grandstand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got Ralph Barber on the line. Ralph, good afternoon to you.
Yeah, well, it is good afternoon, mate. Good morning to you guys, yeah.
Yes, yeah. How's the weather over there in Melbourne?
Well, it's not as beautiful as Perth, but it's a bit grey today, but that's a great day for us, really.
Excellent.
It's all good here.
It is a bit grey here as well, so I think we're on a bit of a par. We're due for some storms overnight, so
yeah.
I'm happy we're in the studio right now. It's all good. So we were just talking, Ralph, about radio and how the A-League is going to be covered this year, and of course it's a big congratulations to you for the birth of FNR, Football Nation Radio. Tell us how the idea came about and what your involvement is in that.
Oh, how's the idea, Pen? You would know the idea. We've had ideas for 30 years, haven't we? The idea of the fact that, football in this country is just, it's been underreported and misreported for all our lives, hasn't it, really? We've been crying out for a platform where people can discuss the game, get their news, get entertained, get educated. every day, every hour of every day. And it was a dream come true. Well, it was a dream for us all. AFL's had it ever since really the start of time, and NRL's the same, and football, with the number of people that are involved in football throughout this country, 3.1 million people are actively involved in the game. We certainly deserve a platform. And how did it come about? Well, there was another group of people who I happened to basically get in touch with almost 12 months ago, and they wanted to change things. They wanted to make sure that the game of football had was creating its own narrative. It wasn't relying on misinformed reporting in mainstream media, or under-reporting, or at the whim of sort of media managers that in big network news, TV, radio, print. The fact that we've been under-reported for so long that people are just getting sick of it, really, and they just wanted to do something about it. And 12 months on, we've got ourselves a radio facility here in Melbourne, in the Docklands. It was built state of the art, and it's just all dedicated to football, 24 hours a day.
You've been working hard. We know that you come from the background of the 40Agos, and you've been talking with us, I don't know how many decades now, maybe almost as long as we've been going, Ralph.
Absolutely, yeah. And Pen, it's one of those ones where you do your best. You guys have been going for decades also, and you do your best, but it's tough because, the landscape, isn't saturated with football media. So you've got to, grab your time slot. You've got to find the money for it. You've got to, we've done so much late night radio, really. I'll probably look 30 years older than what I actually am because of late night radio, because they're the time slots you get on commercial radio. Now, we've been pretty lucky for the last 20, or probably 15 years we've been on commercial radio in Melbourne. People know us, but we're always late night. It's hard to get us, people have to listen to us on podcasts because, we do late night radio, and it's just always just an add-in to the sports landscape in the media, and so, this is just fantastic in that, we can really flesh out. We've been going for 2 weeks now. We've been really fleshing out really lengthy interviews with people rather than only having 5 or 6 minutes with them. You'd have a whole hour really fleshing out the issues around football and, news, entertainment, education, all that sort of stuff. And it is a dream come true, mate. We've just got to make sure that it's compelling content that people want to tune into.
Yes, yeah, well, it's a lot of time to fill. Wow. But, as you grow, there'll be lots of offers along the way and, lots of things. How do people actually tune into you? Just log into Football Nation Radio on the net and come up with all the information?
These days, people get their radio on the net, online, and we've got a website, footballnationradio.com. They can go there and just click on the front page there. There's a radio play. They can listen to it at work, at home, on their PC, on their iPad, anything that really streams, internet, you can hear it. But we also, most of our listeners in the last couple of weeks have downloaded our app. We've got a Google Play app for Android and a store app for iPhones rather. And they just download that and you can listen to it on your phone, basically. So, it's the way radio's being consumed these days. I know there's this transition between traditional radio that we're used to, but nowadays people are wanting apps, they're wanting podcasts, they're wanting the replays 24 hours a day, and that's what we're providing them.
Okay, Rod.
Ralph, just a question from myself, Rod Banjak here.
Hi, Rod.
Obviously, great job, by the way. The question I'd like to ask is there a specific area of football that you're covering, and what sort of support are you getting from the governing bodies and the clubs in general?
Yeah, well, we're really proud to say that, that we want to reach every segment of that 3.1 million people actively involved in the game, and so we're a whole of game coverage. Not only do we do news and the latest issues, we have a pretty hard-hitting daily show called The Journos between 8 and 9 Eastern in the mornings, and that's just all the top journos in Australia contributing, their thoughts on really hard-hitting issues, and it's a terrific hour. I just love it because you're dealing with some of the best writers in Australia in newspapers, and And so, people can have a listen to that. We've got a breakfast show in the morning just with all the overnight news. We're not in the mecca of football here. Mecca of football is overseas, and so the time difference allows us to really be the first radio show or radio product that actually can bring you the latest news. We had a couple of really great shows with live Champions League action happening while we were on, and so there was a lot of updates while people were going to work and stuff like that. So that was really terrific. We've got educational programs like high performance shows, coaching shows. We're about to launch a mini Roos show, for example. So it's really across the board, not only news and A-League, but it's also like I said, educational shows, entertainment shows. So there's so much involved with football, as you guys know, that we want to reach every sort of segment of the market, have a show that hits every segment, and hopefully that will really engender a fair bit of interest and listenership over time.
Rod,
and that second half of your question, sorry, about the support from state federations. I mean, FFV Football Federation Victoria here have been quite close to us in that, they've put us, they've linked us through their networks to potential sponsors and stuff like that. But at the moment, the FFA, they're relatively quiet. We hope that in time we'll be able to establish something with them. But right now, I think they've got some other issues on their plate at the moment they've got to sort out. So it's a bit of a slow burn in that respect. But I think because this is new, people are just waiting to see, whether we are actually going to deliver 24 hours of radio, which we're doing at the moment. And over time, they're just wanting to see whether it's sustainable. And, we're loving it. There's no reason why it can't be. So, yeah. So I think in time, the whole football family will be able to get around this and really enjoy it.
I like the way you said it's a bit of a slow burn and people are just waiting to see what's going to happen. And you said it's such a cool manner. It comes from a good, comfortable place, Ralph. Well done.
Yeah, look, the whole slow burn. I mean, we just never had it, Ted. People tune into your show every week for that hour or two, and they'll do that with us too. And it's almost changing behaviours for Australian football lovers because we've never had it, they're not used to having it. Whereas AFL fans will tune into a station and they'll listen to it all day. For example, SEN here in Melbourne, who I work for, they have AFL football 90% of the day, and people know if I want to get my AFL football news, I'll switch to SEN and I'll listen to it all day. And even if I don't like what's on, I'll keep it on. It's just behavioural, and football soccer people like us haven't had that before. So it's one of those ones where I think once people switch on, they'll know that we're fair dinkum, and they'll know that the content's quite compelling at the moment, and they'll want to keep it on. And if we can change behaviours that way, that'll really help the sport, I think. So.
Now let's talk about some of those issues that are across the board in football at the moment. And top of the list, I suppose, has to be Ange Postecoglou. We're coming up to World Cup qualifiers. November 10, I think, is the next one. We've got 2 legs there, and if we win that, we're off to the World Cup. We're hoping, we're thinking we're going to get there. The news has come out in the last 24 hours that, yes, Ange has put his hand up and said, yep, I am looking at moving on. What's your thoughts on where things are at with that one, Ralph?
I'm really disappointed. I'm not great mates with Ange, but I know Ange, and he's been selling this whole idea of just trust me, we'll go to a back three, we'll play a certain style because when we get to the next World Cup, we're going to cause some damage. And now, even if we qualify, he won't be taking the team to the next World Cup. So suddenly, this whole dream or this whole, vision of how we want to play our game, who knows what's going to happen to it then? I've been backing Ange in the media and public because I've had faith in what he wants to do, and I like the way he approaches it. So I'm really disappointed that he won't be taking our team if we qualify to the next World Cup. That's just something that I just feel a little bit let down by that, but that's the decision he's had to make for personal reasons or whatever, career reasons, personal reasons, and you've got to respect that. But personally, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, it does seem a bit strange because it felt like he got a pass at the last World Cup because we said, okay, you've just taken over, we're not expecting a lot from you, and in that sense, that's what we got. But sort of everyone said, okay, it's bringing in a new squad and so forth. But I think the implied thing was, then he's got 4 years to work with the team to get us through into Russia and show us what he can do at Russia. So it's really strange that he's dropped out, or said he's going to drop out before Russia.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm speaking to Pete, but Pete, the issue was he said after the last World Cup that it wasn't his team; it was Holgossi's team. He didn't qualify, but he's looking forward to on this cycle to get him to qualify them, but doing it in his way. For me, the ultimate test of his beliefs and his philosophy is at a World Cup.
Yeah.
And really everything he's been talking to us about, us not just accepting, just getting there and doing something while we're there, that more means nothing now, because he's not taking the team if we get there, and we're not seeing his philosophy on a world stage. And I think it would be terrific for this sport here if he's gone there with his philosophy, we're qualified, and we're playing an attacking brand of football with a back three and all that stuff that he's been sticking really quite closely to. Imagine if we went to a World Cup and we played really well under that system. That will change our philosophy forever about how we go about it. Now we still won't be able to test that on that world stage, and that's really deeply frustrating for me.
Yep, entirely with you.
Ralph, I think you've just answered the question there. He's not willing to take the risk.
That disappoints me, because he's shown time and time again that he has enormous faith in his own ability. And that's the other thing. If you're going to stick by your guns and you want to prove a point, you want to leave a legacy, what better way to get to a World Cup and just show the world what you've been talking about for a whole time, show a whole country and generations to come that that's how we should be playing. Now, I'm a deep believer in the way he's going about playing, but we're not going to be seeing that on the world stage. Won't be tested. And I'd be disappointed if he's now backing out and thinking that it's too much of a risk. Perhaps we won't do what I've been saying. I don't think he's that sort of guy. Something else is going on at the moment, which probably has led to this. We won't know what that is, I don't think.
There's a pretty interesting interview, if you can catch it, on Fox Sports with Andrew and Adam Peacock, just talking about how Ange and he's comfortable, just saying that he might be ready, time to move on. By the way, a cheeky person has texted in and said Ange is rumoured to go to AFL Club Hawthorn as Director of Operations CEO. Yeah, good one. Thanks for that.
Well, he has been, by the way, I'm not sure whether you guys are aware, but he has been a consultant to AFL clubs in the AFL here in Melbourne.
Okay.
So you never know. Who knows what the story is? But that would really surprise me, given that he still has aspirations to coach overseas.
What about, Ralph, with the state of FFA at the moment? Gary Marocchi here from Perth Soccer Club has been on our program a few times, just talking about where FFA and FIFA are at with negotiations, where our clubs here are at with negotiations, and the contribution and the voting rights and all those kind of things. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, it's a disaster, isn't it, guys? This is just chaos, and it won't get any better. Clubs, I just get this feeling, I don't know, I'm sure that we had Greg Griffin on our Football Bosses show, our new Football Bosses show with Malta Zapponi and Tony Pinata on Wednesday night, and he was like outraged. He didn't hold back at all. I don't see the club, even if there isn't a sort of a window of opportunity to settle this before the normalisation committee comes in, the FIFA normalisation committee. I think the clubs are out to get this board, and I think they won't rest until this board is moved on. So I think we're going to see some real transition in the next 12 months, even if they somehow come to some arrangement before FIFA steps in. I don't see Stephen Lowy and this board surviving much longer. It's untenable. There's so much angst between the clubs and the FFA board at the moment. And we can't do anything else. There's talk about expansion, obviously, second division. We can't do anything until this is solved. So it's really...
What is your thoughts?
Excuse me. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
sorry, I've got my wife watching a horse race down the back of the house, and I thought she was screaming. I didn't know what she was screaming at. Sorry.
Okay. the horse hasn't deviated and ran her over or anything.
Really I don't even remember what I was talking about.
No, we were talking about the FFA. Ralph, what do you reckon about a second tier, how that might pan out? Because one of the ideas on the plate was that there'd be a second tier of football to the A-League, and there's apparently going to be a proposal that's put on the table at some point, but I'm not sure if that's subject to the current FFA board being there or changing first?
Yeah, look, it's a must, isn't it, guys? I mean, we've got to have a second division, just for pure opportunity for our younger players. You've got so many over there in Perth who just go straight overseas, join academies over there, and suddenly 5 years down the track you see them playing first-team football for Aston Villa, you know? These sort of guys need to have a second division here, and there's a lot of them in the NPL here. So it's a must, but again, it's going to be held up until they sort this thing out. But for me, it's a no-brainer. Promotion relegation is another issue. I still think we're so way away from that. But certainly second division, a professional second division is something I'd be really disappointed if we weren't at least talking within 2 years and within 5 or 6 years at least have a full-time second division.
Wasn't that part of the AFC's qualification for Australia to be in the AFC group, was to have a two-tier competition?
Absolutely. And, but, of course, there's been delays. Look, I think the FFA, if we waited for us to have the money, or to be financially set up to have a club like West Sydney Wanderers in our competition, we'd be still waiting. I mean, this whole idea that we have to have the money to do something before it starts, that's something that, if we did that in football, we'd never get anywhere. And even the A-League, we probably didn't have the money to start the A-League. We didn't have the money to start the NSL, but we did. And, clubs and people come together and they make it happen. This whole thing about the second division, it's been just delayed and delayed and delayed, and the argument's been we can't afford it. It's not realistic, this and that, and I think that's the argument the FFA have put forward to the AFC time and time again. But people are getting sick of it. Yeah. I think there's enough money now. I mean, you've got some really top-notch NPL clubs in Western Australia, and we've got some really good ones here in Melbourne and New South Wales and Adelaide and Tasmania, even South Hobart's got a fantastic NPL team that keeps on making, goes deep into the National Premier League finals every year. I mean, we can get 10 teams that are on a national basis. The sort of money they're paying players these days, some of the NPL players get $1,000 a week for games. Surely they can all come together now and say, okay, on the field we're rivals, but off the field let's come together and let's get a really vibrant, well-run, economically responsible league. And I think we can do it.
Allegedly $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
Actually, I won't say allegedly because I've had people from NPL on our shows on FNR talking about the sort of money they're paying.
So hang on, isn't the salary cap across Australia the same, or is it all different state to state?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what.
It's certainly allegedly in Western Australia.
Yeah, okay.
And then we've got things like the W League, which varies from year to year, maybe with the number of games that are covered or not, or on ABC or not, and that is a matter of money or is it a matter of priority. We need a national league like that, and look where women's football's come in the last 12 months. And, they've had to fight and compromise along the way with resources and money. And, now they've kind of got to a place which is good. But, they didn't go straight to the top. They had to fight along the way and scrape the stuff.
And Pen, I'm sure we had a conversation about the value of women's football years ago. And we were talking about the fact that, the FFA weren't serious about it, or the sport itself wasn't serious about it. And look what we see now. The Matildas are filling stadiums. It wasn't so long ago people were saying, let's not invest too much in the Matildas because they're not actually adding value to our income streams.
I reckon it might have been like maybe 18 months ago, Ralph.
It was. It wasn't that long ago when people were saying, look, you're joking about the Matildas. They're not adding any income streams to our sport. And look what they've done in the last 2 games. Look at Sam Kerr. I mean, there's so much excitement around the Matildas. I'm just asking people in football just to close their mind. If you've got a vision, go after it. Don't just sit back and say, look, it's not adding value now. Well, what's happened in the last 18 months for it suddenly there's going to be a sport or a team that actually contributes to our income flow. I mean, if you think about the FFA and, what they feel that the financial pie is, they would never have factored in the fact that the Matildas would fill a stadium at Penrith and get 16,000 people at Newcastle
Yeah.
And why is that a surprise? I don't understand why that's a surprise. It's a surprise to them because they never had faith in it. And now they're bringing these extra income streams in, and now they're the flavour of the month. We should be doing that for a second division. Who's to say that we can't get 10,000 people to every second division game if it was a professional second division? Who's to say we couldn't do it?
I reckon Tommy Samani, who's coaching, or head coach the Matildas and is coaching, I think it's Orlando Pride over in the National Women's League in America, he's probably sitting back and having his wine and thinking, they're doing all right now. I did okay back when I had those kids. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And look, it's amazing. We've got a Matildas team that's the right age. These girls can win, and I don't think I'm being too outrageous here. They can win the next 2 World Cups, these same girls. And that's if if everything goes their way and they keep on improving the way they are. Sam Kerr she's only 23 years old. She can be a World Player of the Year in the next 3 or 4 years in a row if things go her way. So suddenly this becomes, one of our greatest ever sporting teams in this country. And everyone will know their names and everyone will follow them. Why has it taken us so long to open our eyes to this?
Well, I don't know, but I was saying to Rod earlier and a few other people during the week is that in a comparison in my mind, it kind of infuriates me, but I'm also happy that we're at this place. If you look at the coverage that AFL has across Australia, and it's just infiltrated everywhere, when women's AFL came in, they filled the stadium, they gave away all the tickets and they filled the stadium, and they just got to that place like that. Yeah. And women's football, we're talking soccer now, they went the hard way, and they've compromised their pay. They've had to go and play in leagues overseas to get an income. They've forfeited this and forfeited that, and along the way they've got to exactly the same place, but the paths have been entirely different. And it's a lot of hard work has got to that place, Ralph.
But Pen, I'd say there's more substance, and I know I love my AFL too. I'm a Western Bulldogs fan, so I'll put my hand up, right? But I can say that having worked in a commercial radio station that's 24-hour sport here in Melbourne, in the lead up to last year's AFLW season, every show on that station from that Monday, from almost 2 weeks before the first bounce of the first game, they had women footballers in there talking about them, talking about their background, talking about who they are, and they were really, the whole sport came together. All of the media around the sport came together to really try and give this thing a go. And guess what? 20,000 people turned up to a Collingwood-Carlton AFLW game in that first game. It was incredible what we saw. But can they sustain that? Will that happen this time around? Who knows? That's really did. Yeah, is it sustainable what they did? And why aren't the AFL, even more excited? I mean, they are excited. Don't get me wrong, but they probably know that this was built on hype. A lot of it was built on hype. Whereas our girls, it's been a bit of a slower burn, but there's actually been some substance to our build-up.
Yes.
And this is where I'm thinking we're probably on a stronger sort of basis and foundation than maybe the AFLW is. But having said that, the AFL can create anything because they've got all the money in the world to do it. They've got all the friends in media to do it. Let's see what their second year looks like. But I think we've done it the right way, to tell you the truth.
If I can just butt in here, I think we're just neglecting one key factor in this whole situation. These girls have developed and delivered a product that's pleasant on the eyes and it's of quality. And they have won the attention of everybody at the moment simply because of the hard work and the type of football that they play. I've had the pleasure to watch them firsthand. Bobby Despotovsky, the coach's glory, is a very close friend of mine and is closely affiliated with Forestville United. So we've had a couple of training games there against the state team. And some of the goals, actually, I was talking to Penny earlier, they belong on the world stage. The quality of football that those girls are delivering is what's going to eventually give them the attention that they deserve and obviously the accolades and everything else that goes with it. I know we talk about FFA and good luck to them and well done, but I think that's just a flash in the pan. This is sustainable, this is quality, this is real, and these girls have just started. I expect big things from them, and I can just see them climbing up that FIFA ladder. What are we now? We're 7th, are we?
We're in the top 10. It's great.
I think the success is because of many facets. and one is these girls play great football. You're absolutely right there, Rob. You go and watch them, and they're really, really watchable. They're young athletes. They're exciting. They've got a positive and proactive brand of football. They're coached really well. They're super confident in each other and the team. You can see that, and they just love it. Sam Kerr, you just watch her play football. She just eats it up. She just loves it.
Yes.
And you may have heard the interview with her with a sports reporter on Perth TV. Basically saying, oh, look, with the Eagles coming out with an AFLW league team soon, surely you would want to play with them. And she said, well, why would I want to surely play with them? I play for Australia in football, and I travel the world. I play in World Cups. I play in the Olympics. Football's given me so much. Why would I want to go and play AFLW? I mean, that statement itself.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic selling.
It's a home run.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the best thing that could possibly be said. And that's from someone who comes from an AFL football family.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was enormous when she said that.
Yes.
That's a great point that you've mentioned there, because obviously Sam went through the ranks in the local leagues here. She played for NTC, and at that age, the girls play against the boys, one age group below them. And I remember her brother, Daniel Kerr, was at one of the games, and he was saying how he envies her, and actually he promotes her going through the round ball football code. And what he mentioned that they miss out in AFL is representing the country, the green and gold. And they had that international rules against Ireland, and he reckons, he classifies that as his highest moment in football, taking into consideration all the success and the premierships that he's had with the West Coast Eagles. But to represent your country at the highest stage, that is something special, and that is something money cannot buy.
Yeah, and not in a hybrid sport.
Yeah.
It's just put together because they want people to represent Australia. They would love to have represented Australia playing Australian rules football, but you can't. It's just never going to happen.
True.
So, and that's what football has. And the more the Socceroos do well, the more the Matildas do well, I think that's one thing that will just keep on getting bigger and bigger. We're just going to get better. I mean, we're going to have our down moments, I know, but we're just going to get better at this. And that's just a fantastic aspirational symbol for kids, whether they be young boys or girls, when they're either deciding whether they're going to play cricket or football or AFL or tennis or whatever. I think that's one thing that if they're good at all of them, they'll make a decision about, where does this take me on the world stage.
Yep.
Ralph, we're going to leave it there. We're going to have a chat to Perth Glory next up. I appreciate your time today. It's great to hear your enthusiasm for football as always, and I hope the FNR goes fantastic. It's such a great endeavour. Well done.
Thanks very much, guys. I really, it's a great pleasure speaking on your show as always, Ken, and I just wish you all the best. And I'm sure, Ken, you'll make a couple of appearances on FNR because we need some really good people from Perth talking on that station.
Thanks, Ralph. It's been my pleasure.
Love you, mate. See you, mate.
See ya.
Thanks, Ralph.
See ya.
That was Ralph Barber, also known as Carlos Albertus, if you listen to the Four Diegos media on SEN Radio in Melbourne. Guys, we're going to go to a break and try and crack this computer again, so just, Pete, stand by. We'll be back talking more in a moment. No, it's
not going to happen.
Hang on a sec, let me just get rid of that. Oh, come on. Just bear with me, everybody, while I just try and get this darn thing off and play that. No, doesn't like it. Hang on.
The Australian Mini Football Federation onto Radio Fremantle. Join the growing numbers playing non-traditional forms of football at any of the Area 5 centres around Perth. Find out more on osminifootball.com. Station sponsor.
Not far from our beautiful Swan River, with fields amongst the gum trees east of our port city Fremantle and a stone's throw from our capital city Perth, lies the city of Melville, supporting a steadily growing population of over 93,000 individuals and creating possibilities for a lot of avid footballers. One of the largest clubs in Western Australia is rising to the challenge that this massive opportunity is presenting. It supports over 800 families, over 1,000 members, 60 teams and 15 different nationalities. families. That club has developed programs for children that from the age of 5 nurtured them, mentored them and created pathways to encourage them to give those same qualities back into the community. Melville City Football Club. Find us at melvillecityfc.com.au. Football, an expression of your sense of community and a celebration of the world game.
Station sponsor.
We're in the last week of a 4-week program that we have in conjunction with the Red Cross. We are hosting some immigrants recently processed, providing some entertainment through football, which is a relationship that we're trying to build.
I think as I see the kids are enjoying very much, it's a good opportunity for them to get out, play in a team, learn new skills, and have fun. As you can see, they really are having fun.
It's our way of being able to give back to the community. We see ourselves as a program that is giving to the community, so this is another opportunity for us to be able to give.
I think it's highly important. Perth Glory is one of the most respected soccer organisations. They can reach out to some of the marginalised groups, disadvantaged kids, and bringing them and involving them into the community.
Obviously, football is the world game. It's played all over the world, so everyone can relate to it to some extent. And whilst not everyone's at a great skill level, they all know how to play the game, and it's all about participation and enjoyment. So I think that speaks a world language.
Now, she is the biggest star of our most successful sports team. Sam Kerr is helping put Australian women's soccer on the international map, scoring the winning goal against Giants Brazil last weekend. The girl from Perth is already the all-time leading scorer in the US Women's Soccer League and is a finalist for this year's FIFA World Player of the Year. Tracy Holmes spoke to Sam Kerr ahead of the Matildas' second clash with Brazil tonight in Newcastle.
She's the international sports star that until recently few Australians had heard of.
I'm a bit of a firecracker on the field, but I also enjoy myself. I have fun.
Is it time for the hat trick? Sam Kerr, oh, big save again, but the second chance and she'll get it. A first half hat trick for Sam Kerr.
Sam Kerr's been playing football for Australia for almost a decade, but at 24, she still has big ambitions.
I could say I would try and be like Ronaldo as a goal scorer, but I don't think I'm like him personality-wise.
What was your life like when you were chosen as that young 15-year-old in a national team, and how has it changed up to this point?
Yeah, it's obviously a lot different. I mean, I was in school and I didn't really have any direction in where I wanted to go, with my footballing career. Now, a few years later, we have national team contracts, we have a minimum wage in the W League, so it's changed for the better. There's a lot more media attention around the team, and the team feels a lot more professional, and we as athletes are being treated as true professionals now, so it's been a really good change.
And yet, soccer wasn't your first love, was it?
No, AFL. Yeah, so my dad played for Port Adelaide, East Fremantle. My brother played for the West Coast Eagles, won a premiership with them, and being from Perth, it's very AFL dominant. I'm still a huge AFL fan, but back in the day, no one could tell me that I wasn't going to play for the West Coast Eagles. I thought they were going to change the rules for me. Truly believed it, being the young kid I was, but yeah, it got too rough. The boys, kind of roughing me up and starting to get a bit upset on the weekend. The boys, they grew and I was staying the same size, and just made the change to soccer. Didn't want to at the start, to be honest. Didn't really enjoy it because I couldn't use my hands, but I grew to love the game, and now the game's given me so many opportunities that I wouldn't change for the world.
Spins around on the right, kicks towards goal. Magnificent Daniel Kerr.
Sam Kerr's brother Daniel was one of the AFL's best-known players. He helped the West Coast Eagles win a premiership in 2006, but a number of charges relating to drugs and violence and a short stint in prison had a profound impact on the entire family.
His off-field choices weren't the best, and, you know, he was retired when all of that happened and he thought no one cared, but someone always cares, and it's just about being the best professional and representing yourself and your club and your country, for me, the best way you can.
Do you get tired of those comparisons being made?
Sometimes, but I think it's life, you know. You can't really drop things that have happened. If you could, I think many people would do that. Your past is your past, and something that I'm actually pretty proud of, you know. My brother went through a hard patch, and so did the family, to be honest. You know, it's not just someone dealing with it, it's the whole family, it's your friends, and we stuck together, and we're really proud of him, and, you know, he's really proud of me now. You know, he's supporting me here this week, and I still support him with his foundation at home, so we've come closer as a family, and it's made us better.
Great throw. Oh, the technique to Bernard!
Last weekend, the Matildas defeated Brazil 2-1 in Sydney. It follows their victory at the Tournament of Nations in the United States last month.
Yeah, I think the way we play, everyone can see that we're having fun. We enjoy it. You know, we work hard first and foremost, but we also enjoy it. We love being a part of this team, and we love representing Australia, and we think we represent Australia well. We're the underdog, we're hungry, we're fast, and we're fierce. So I think we're doing really well for, you know, Australian role models, but I think we've still got a lot of work to do, so that's the exciting part.
Welcome back to the World Football Program. And just on that last part that Sam said, I remember interviewing Tom Simoni at some stage, and I said, Tom being the former Matildas coach before Alan Sajic, a little bit before that, what's the style of the Australian women's football team? And he goes, a little bit like a mongrel dog. You know, there's a scruffiness about it. There's a, you know, a hard-working aspect to it, but there's not really a style. It's just about a, you know, a get-in, all-in kind of work hard, and that's just what Sam said then. Everyone works hard and they do their bit, and there's not really a style about the Australian women's football team. I don't think there's really a style about the Socceroos actually either. They just kind of, you know, have to have a coach that comes together, and we need that to be stamped. Maybe I don't know about need, but yeah, it's an interesting one. Brandon Wilson, good morning, and thanks for joining us on the World Football Program, Brandon.
How you guys? How you going?
Very well. We just had an interview there with some audio from ABC actually about Sam Kerr, who's I've got to say it, and no offence meant to anyone else in the Glory Cross, but she's kind of the sensation of Glory and the Matildas at the moment, isn't she, Brandon?
Yeah, she certainly is. She's doing a bit. She's scoring goals in America. She's probably one of the biggest names in women's football, if not the biggest at the moment. So she's definitely up there in Glory's eyes, and she's obviously well respected in WA as well. So. Well,
she is, and she's doing a great job for us, really, in terms of raising the profile of football here, and she's going to be captaining Perth Glory when we start our W League campaign in the next week or two. Right here in Perth, we'll get to see her. The Matildas are playing in a series against China in November, so that's only a matter of weeks away as well. So, you know, I'm sure there'll be people who will actually book tickets and go and watch those games rather than sit back and go, I hope the Matildas come to town someday.
Yeah, I hope so too for their sake, because, you know, they're a good team. They're actually a really solid team, and you've seen last year how well they did. You know, we went and watched them in the finals and that, and we were just saying, like,
yes,
they're a class team, and they should get bigger crowds, like. You know, they're entertaining, they play good football, you know, Sam Kerr's there, hopefully she pumps the numbers up a bit for them. But, yeah, I think people should go and book tickets and watch them, because they're entertaining.
And over to the A-League, which of course is the squad with which you're playing this weekend against Central Coast Mariners, first home game on Sunday. From a personal point of view, for you, how's the experience playing with some of the international players in the squad?
Oh, I think it's unbelievable for my age and that, just learning from class players who've been there and done that sort of thing. You know, you've both got Castro and Xavi and Andreu in the mid, just like, you know, they're so experienced, play the league and that, and you've got like Tags and Kerr up top, you know, everyone helping you, and then you've got people behind you like Shano and Nevs and that, so you've got experience all around, so all I can do really is just buckle down, learn as much as I can, and hopefully become a better player and do what they've done, you know.
How does the club go about engaging you off the park in terms of the whole squad and I mean, there's a lot of players that have come together in any A-League squad that maybe don't know each other, the individuals, but how does Glory get you all together and you're working and humming along, so to speak, before you get on the pitch?
I think this season we actually went on like a Rottnest trip, like a pre-season trip. That was quite good. We all went and we stayed in like little shacks to like, you know, we there's like a team bonding sort of thing. Did a bit of fitness. We had like barbecues and that. So that's like a good way to get to know each other, I guess, and you know, start to, as you say, hum along. But you know, I think also with like promotions with the club and that helps. Like you obviously go with another teammate and you start to know them and stuff, which is really good for knowing the boys and obviously getting into the community.
Yes, and getting into the community is very important. It's something that Glory's done exceptionally well in the last couple of years under the CEO, Peter Philopoulos, is engage with the community. And I know tomorrow Glory are pushing it as it's a fun day for the family to come along and engage with the activities that are at NIB Stadium. So come along, bring your family down earlier. There'll be the Glory Gorilla. There'll be different activities there. So, you know, Glory want it to be a family occasion. I kind of hope that might be promoted for the W League and Glory, but I haven't really heard about that yet. It's been a little bit quiet.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I've not heard much yet, but I'm sure they will. I'm sure that they're looking at pushing it, but I think it's brilliant for the kids, you know, coming down. They've got everything there for them, like, it's just a fun day for them. They'll meet some of the players, you know, take pictures and autographs, and they've obviously got like fun stuff to do, kicking the ball around. You know, it's class for the kids. It's a good day out, so.
Yes, and and on yourself, do you feel like a role model when you're out in the community doing things? Do you feel like, you know, Glory is my club, it's something that I need to, you know, stick out my chest a bit more, I need to go that extra mile to be the role model for the kids, because this is where they want to be in a few years' time, some of those kids?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, I'm still quite young and I'm not obviously as like experienced and played as many games as the older players. But I like to think like I can be sort of a role model to an extent for the kids, like looking up to be a top professional, which is what I'm trying to be. So yeah, I'd like to think so. I'd like to try to do my part.
You played a little bit in England too, didn't you, before Glory?
Yeah, I was in England for 3 years. I played at Burnley FC and then I went out on loan to Stockport for a six-week stint with them at the end of the season before I returned back to Perth Glory.
That's a bit of worldly experience for a young man.
Speaking of worldly experience, I see here you're you're eligible to represent Botswana at international level. If they came knocking, what would you say?
I think 6 months ago I got a bit of a talk from the coach and he asked me to come down, but I think they got the message that I kind of want to play for Australia, which is sort of my dream.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, you know, it's a great honour to get offered from Botswana, but I think my heart's set on playing for the green and gold, you know.
Good answer.
Yeah, very good. So, sorry, that accent I can hear then is Botswanian?
Botswanian. Do you know what? In Botswana they call it Motswanan.
Motswanan?
Motswanan, yeah. It's a bit different.
Okay, excellent. So have you been here most of your life, bar like maybe primary school age?
Yeah, I mean, I moved from the UK to here twice, there and back. So I moved from Botswana to the UK, and I moved here, and then I moved back to the UK, and then I moved back here. So a bit of both. I couldn't really say.
Brendan, which was your local club here in Perth, and how much time did you spend there? Are you still in touch with them? Do you spend any time at all?
Yeah, I was at ECU Junior for a good part of 4 years, and we actually, funnily enough, in pre-season I played a couple of youth games with the youth team. We played against the ECU first team and seen a couple of old faces there, and, you know, obviously a bit of banter flying about, you know. So yeah, they're a very good club, and, you know, they're very light-hearted, but they're also very professional for, you know, youth and that sort of level, for MPL level. So, you know, ECU always been in my heart.
Brandon, you were at the Melville City Rubel wind-up, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. That was really good, actually.
Down at Murdoch. Yeah, Glory came along with some players on it. That was great. Thanks for coming along with that. That was very big. We had a lot of families down there. We might have had, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 people down there.
Yeah, easily. It was huge, yeah. It was probably one of the best set-up promotions I've been to. I think it was big, good for the families and that.
Yes.
There was lots of commotion, lots of kids flying around and playing football, which was class. I always like to see that.
Brendan, question for you about this is the time of year when